We'll add people later on. Live stream. Hello, everyone. I think we might be live now.
But then do you mind changing my name to Cinnamon Nyagaka, please? Please.
You're currently live on YouTube.
Please do change my name. Thank you.
So nice.
Wow, Dorcas. Wow. I can see your background.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, Dorcas. Yes, I did that. All right, I think we should do introductions and then we can get started. In 4 minutes, we are already live on YouTube for now. So,
should I start?
No, we can start in 4 minutes. We still have time for people to join. We just need to wait. Everyone is recording. Interesting. We had to. Good. You're on spot. I'll put Dorcas on spotlight. She can barely survive. She can't even smile. Let me change it to somebody else. Huh. All right, everyone. Yeah, live on YouTube officially.
Bidian, what is the YouTube link? Is it the respect so that I can also share across the social media?
It's the same. It's not respect.
Yes. I've seen it. Good.
Yeah, but I can also just post it here. Yeah, it is. Yeah. Simon, you can share the link even in our group for the YouTube.
Okay, on it.
The problem is Kenyans with Kenyan time. Right, guess. Over to you, Dorcas.
Hello, everyone. Can you guys hear me? Thank you all for attending. I guess we can give, let's say, 5 minutes for people to join. But my name is Dorcas Muikali. I'm a respect volunteer, currently a third-year medical student from Kenya Methodist University, and I'll be your host today. Then we have Duke. Duke, you can say hi in the meantime.
Duke must be mute.
Hello, everyone. Are you getting me?
We can hear you.
Okay, Duke Maisiba Kebari, currently a second-year student at Egerton University. Yeah, I'll be a co-host today as I'm continuing to admit more people. I am just happy more people are joining. Yeah, more we share as we continue. Back to Dorcas.
Thank you, Duke. To those who are joining, welcome to our webinar today. When you join, kindly mute your microphone. Then if possible, if you want to, we're live on YouTube, so you can turn on your video if possible.
Right. So go to introductions of panelists. We will start with you, Cinnamon. As we proceed to Pabella, then I'll probably go afterwards.
Okay, right. Good evening, everyone. I hope you're all doing well. Thank you so much for making time to be here today. My name is Cinnamon Nyakaka. I am a fifth-year medical student at Kenyatta University. I'm also the communications director for the Kenya Healthcare Student Summit. Yeah, and I'm really excited to be here. I'm very passionate about child and adolescent health, and I think it will really, what we're discussing today will encompass will encompass most of our discussion today, and that is on sexual productive health. So yeah, excited to be here, and let's continue to engage. Thank you.
Pamela.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah. Thank you for this opportunity once again. Good evening. My name is Pamela Bwajo-Amante. I'm a Ghanaian from Ghana. I've been in a student's leadership throughout my life. I've been a student representative council president in my university, studied BSc Information Technology. I've been worked with NGOs, and I've been a volunteer on a lot of projects, worked on UN projects, worked on AU projects, worked on Wikipedia media projects, also worked on continental affiliated organizations projects. Currently, I'm the director of programs for the Pan-African Youth Leaders. Thank you.
Glad to have you. Hi, everyone. My name is Bidian. Bidian Yamor. I'll just see if I can get my camera on. But yeah, my name is Bidian Yamor. I'm happy to be here with you. I am part of the Team Respect, reproductive and sexual programs for Kenyan teenagers, organization that works on that one. Yeah. For here, I will be covering for my colleague and friend from the Commonwealth Youth Network. It's called Anthony Manyara, who is the national delegate for the Commonwealth Youth Council for Kenya. And I'm also a national delegate for the Commonwealth Youth Council from Kenya. I'll cover for him. As he's still out in the field, he's part of the presidential campaign team for one of the leading presidential candidates. Yeah, I'm less political, so he's a lot more. Yeah. Thank you for having me. So I hand it back to Dorcas and Duke for the session. Yeah.
Thank you to our panelists for the introduction. So I'll go straight ahead and explain the purpose of this meeting. So this webinar is brought to you all by Respect in partnership with KES. Respect stands for Reproductive and Sexual Health Program for Kenyan Teenagers. Then KES is for an association for the Kenya students of health. Then we saw a need to have this webinar today because of the sexual health and reproductive. This is a topic, per se, let's say this is a topic which has been left out, and it's not well taught, it's not well approached in Kenya especially. And today we'd like to maybe approach it and see what can be done in the political arena.
Thank you, Amit.
Oh, thank you. So I'd like to welcome you all today. Just some of the rules, kindly make sure your mic is muted. Then in case of any questions, kindly type them on the chat box, and let's engage today. So to our panelists, Pamela, Bidian, and Cinnamon. I hope we are going to have quite a productive talk today as we approach SHR. Yeah, so back to you, Duke.
Okay, thank you, Dorcas, for that chance. Okay, I'm happy to welcome you all to our webinar. Yeah, as I'm, it's difficult for me to multitask, but I'll try. Yeah. So as you've heard, RESPECT stands for Reproductive and Sexual Health Program for Kenyan teenagers, and yeah, we're championing for the youth to be their leaders in matters concerning their reproductive and sexual health. Yeah, as just as Dorcas has said, I don't have much to say. I think we'll go straight on to questions, or if there is
Okay, we can start our topic. So our discussion today. So this will go to Cinnamon. I hope our panelists are ready today. So Cinnamon, could you give us a short or a definition of a SRHR kindly?
Okay, thank you, Dorcas. And this is a beautiful way to start the conversation for today. And we're talking about sexual and reproductive health. It's SRHR. I was meant to say the whole definition of the whole, because it's an acronym and what it basically entails. So SRHR stands for sexual and reproductive health and drive. So when we're talking about definition of SRHR, I like to look at it from the bit of sexual and reproductive health and sexual and reproductive health and drive. And we can talk about sexual and reproductive health being the state of physical, emotional, and social well-being in relation to all aspects of sexuality and reproduction, and not merely the absence of disease. We know the whole WHO definition of health, so we'll just incorporate it in the reproductive health definition. And my approach when I'm looking at sexual reproductive health, it's basically how a positive approach to sexuality and reproduction should recognize the part played by sexual relationships and trust and communication in promoting self-esteem and overall well-being. And I quickly want to point out, when we're talking about SRHR, that is sexual reproductive health and drive, the health and rights really come into play in that achieving sexual reproductive health relies on realizing sexual reproductive rights. And when we have the right definition of what SRHR means, it offers a universal framework to guide the stakeholders, all stakeholders in developing policies, in providing services and programs that address all aspects of SRHR effectively and equitably. So yes, that would be my definition of SRHR.
Oh, nice. I think that's quite elaborate explanation of the meaning of SRHR. Then after that definition, I'd like us to maybe get to know what are some of the challenges that are faced by adolescents when it comes to matters concerning sexual SRHR kindly. So this, I'll ask Pamela to answer this one. Pamela, can you kindly tell us what are some of the challenges that are faced by adolescents?
Right, thank you. We all know that adolescents are very vulnerable, you know. They range between the ages, the teen ages. And during this time, there are a lot of education that needs to go into the sexual reproductive health education. We need to really educate the adolescents. Now, some of the challenges they face, one is education. Someone growing from a background may not be have the family support to be educated what a sexual reproductive health will not even know when he or she is supposed to get into a menstrual cycle. And even when she encounters a menstrual cycle, how she should be able to handle herself. So the education is one, whether from school or from home. Lack of education is one of the challenges that the adolescents face. Another challenge that they face is the confidence and the stigma attached to the whole menstrual hygiene. Let me say menstrual health. We don't want to consider it as a hygiene anymore. We want to perceive it as a health issue. So the stigma and the confidence that is attached to this menstrual health. If I'm a woman or I'm an adolescent and I do not have the education of what a menstrual health is, of what a cycle is all about, when it starts and when it ends, when I'm supposed to even see a man or where I'm not supposed to see a man, whether what I'm supposed to use to clean myself, the products to clean myself, the facility, even in disposing. If I do not have education on all this, it breeds one, stigma. But if one has the education, the adolescent is able to build his or her confidence in managing herself in the whole menstrual hygiene or the sexual reproductive health cycle. So another challenge we also want to talk about here is the symptoms of the whole reproductive health, sexual reproductive health. But I want to categorize on menstrual health. So the whole symptoms. If the person is not aware of the symptoms that, before you have your menstrual health, you have your breast enlarges, you have changes in body, you could develop headaches, you could develop other symptoms. And if you are not that educated on these symptoms, it can pose challenges to the adolescent. It can cause the adolescent to be in suspense of what is happening to me and can rush the adolescent to take decisions that may not be in favor of her. And this will make the adolescent so vulnerable to the system such that anything that anybody says to her, she begins to adopt it and then move into it just because she wants to fit into the system. Another challenge I also want to point out is the access to menstrual products. After the education, whether the person have confidence or the person have been stigmatized, and if the person has the symptoms or knows about the symptoms, are the products available? Now, there are three major products I want to talk about. One is water, another is sanitation, and another is disposable facilities. Another one that I also want to add on is the disposable facilities are the sanitary pads and all that. How do we have potable water in our communities to support our females during this whole system? Do we have a proper sanitation system? Because, if you don't handle your sexual reproductive health very well, you would end up picking up sicknesses or getting infections that can affect your whole sexual reproductive health. It could also give you diseases that could affect your future and your womb, to that extent. So another thing I also want to touch on is these products. Are they available? And if they are available, are they accessible by these adolescents? Do they even know about them? Some adolescents grow without knowing the right tools to use in treating this sexual reproductive health. They don't even know their rights, whether they have a right. The right aspect is a challenge of traditional beliefs and cultural beliefs. Our societies also contribute to these challenges. Some societies see this whole menstrual health or hygiene as a stigma, that during these times, you are not supposed to do this, you are not supposed to do that, you're supposed to be isolated from the people. All this also causes mental health to the adolescents. These are challenges that poses. So when a female do not know her rights, her sexual reproductive health rights, that this is my time and I do not need to be isolated. I'm a normal girl just I'm just like a normal girl walking down there, whether the person is having going through the menstrual cycle or not. I'm just a normal person, and I should be treated as normal as everybody. If the person is not, if the adolescent is not aware of these various rights, it's position the adolescents into accepting whatever traditional beliefs, whatever cultural beliefs that have been set aside for them. So these are some of the challenges that they go through. And the last one I want to touch on is, as we have this whole products that they are not accessible to, what other policies are available, readily available? So there are a lot of challenges. Are they aware of these policies? Even if governments have policies, are they aware of them? Do they even know what level of education is out there for these adolescents to accept what a sexual reproductive health is? So there are lots of challenges that these females go through, during this whole cycle. And I believe that this education, when it goes on, will curb a lot of these challenges. So I hope that as the session goes on, we're able to touch on, to elaborate more on the solutions to curb the challenges.
Thank you, Pamela. I'd like to maybe touch on something that you've said, the education part as a challenge to adolescents. I think going back in time, as adolescents, we are not exposed to maybe sexual and reproductive information. And concerning the menstrual part, I don't think back in primary school we got the chance to be at least taught about these things, or by our teachers or our parents back at home. Personally, I didn't, and the same thing high school as well. So it's not. I think it's a problem that it's not just in adolescence, but going up, even universities. Some universities you don't get to talk about SRHR openly due to some policies. Then I think on the policies part, something that would be really nice for maybe our country and maybe countries in Africa, if we could get more political prioritization and have policies that can at least get the adolescents, or let's say women generally, have the products maybe for free or even tax-free, so that at least they're available to even the less, do I say less fortunate people on this side. And then, Duke, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. As we wait for Duke, I don't know whether it's Scotland or Finland. I think they've adopted a policy where menstrual products are free to their.
Free? Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's quite a good direction, and at least our countries should borrow from that. And then to our next panelist, Bidian. So I would like to, how do you define a priority setting with increased focus on adolescents, SRH in health agenda? I think during your introduction, just a minute. Okay, I think during your introduction, you did tell us that you are into, but was it into policy making, or how would you define that concerning your position as a youth leader? Gideon, am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
Okay, it seems like Bidian is not around. So let me pardon my question. How would you define a priority setting with an increased focus on adolescents, SRH in the health agenda? I hope that is clear now. Can we have one of the panelists.
Okay. I think I can take that one, as well as Pamela can also help me in defining what priority setting when it comes to SRHR. I'd start with priority setting for health interventions is one of the most challenging and complex issues faced by health policy decision makers all over the world. And if I was able to define what priority setting is, I'd define it as the process by which decisions are made on how healthcare resources should be allocated among competing programs or individuals. And in many instances, we can find, particularly in developing countries, that we have the process of priority setting is a bit messy and happens by chance. And then we find maybe in some resource limited settings, such as in the sub-Saharan Africa, it's further complicated. The whole process of priority setting is further complicated by financial constraints that creates that gap, that increasing financial gap between available resources and the demand for health services. And something else also, the lack of sufficient and dependable data and systems to substantiate investments in healthcare compared to alternative investments such as infrastructure. And also, we also find there are multiple international players who provide the technical and financial assistance, but they also have their priorities in place. So there's that bit of competition when it comes to allocating resources when it comes to health interventions. I think lastly, there's the obstacles when it comes to implementation, and that is the whole issue of political instability in some countries in the sub-Sahara. There's also conflicting political priorities, social inequalities, the whole gap between the rich and the poor, and maybe inadequately developed government, civil institutions, and civil societies. So yeah, I think also Pamela could help me in answering that question when it comes to defining priority setting.
Yeah, I can assist. So the priority setting, I think, is more of a political decision, So the governments are supposed to set priorities on their sexual reproductive health rights. You're supposed to set priorities as well as setting priorities for other issues in the country. There are a lot of issues that a country faces. They have priorities on that. So they should also consider sexual reproductive health rights as a priority. And in overcoming this whole thing, they need to see our traditional systems, our traditional beliefs. How is the culture, the various cultural backgrounds managing this sexual reproductive health? If you know of female genital mutilations, in Ghana, there's something we call DIPO. It's a transition for a young girl, who is adolescent that have just had her menstrual cycle. So there's a rites that they go through, and some of these rites, the blade and the tools they use in performing this whole rite, afterwards they encounter diseases. And has government taken that as a priority to know that this has, because if I'm a young girl, I'm supposed to accept whether I would go through that right or not. But in some societies, it's a must. If you do not go through this right, here's female genital mutilation. If you don't go through this rights, you are being tagged as someone who is not part of the society. You are being isolated from everything they do. They don't assume you as a normal woman. So it is a transition for a female to a womanhood, and there are rights they perform. These rights, how do they go through it? So if really the government will set sexual reproductive health rights as a priority, it should be a political decision. And that political decision should manifest into policies, should manifest into action, this should be intentional things intentional decisions that would be taken. And it should be enforced. It shouldn't be something that they will just say for political gains or political points, and they are done because they've been able to win a group of people on their side. They should be able to implement these political decisions and see how best our females will be supported. When you go back some of these outskirts villages, you may find yourself in the city and you have you have your rights. You know that you can move to a hospital to treat yourself. You know, when you have a problem, you know that you can afford a sanitary pad. But how about the other societies that are kind of far away from the cities that do not even know what is happening? But it looks like government is always centered in a city, like it's set in a confined area. So when communication is going on, you know, it doesn't reach a point. So how are we also coming up with research, you know, to support this political decision? So you have to let the government know that these are where the issues are, and this is where we need to tackle them from. We need to give them figures, because if you need to have these political decisions, or you need to have these priority settings right, you need to be able to reach out to come up with proper figures. You should be able to get to all these communities that have this issue, that have these challenges, come up with evidences. How many females have been mutilated? How many females have challenges? Who are these girls that do not have access to sanitary pads? Do you have evidence? What do they use in replacement of the products? You know, are they using leaves? Are they using cloth? And even they are using the cloth, how do they even treat this cloth? You know, how are they even managing themselves? So there are a lot of things that we as grassroots, let me say as grassroots, if we need to get this political settings right, this is a political decision. Priority settings, right, it's a political decision. We as grassroots should come up with evidence, and we should be able to come up with figures. You know, we should be able to come up with documentaries. Let them know that these are the realities on ground. And whatever they are saying is only affecting this particular region or this particular area, and it's not decentralizing into the other parts of the country. And if we are not careful, you have a population of over 10 million in your country. You realize that if your statistics is telling you that you have about 5 million females who are adolescents, and they are going through this transition of sexual reproductive health rights, you should let them know that they are only taking care of a percentage, 1% of them. And about 99% of them are outskirts of wherever the whole thing is happening. So you should be able to point out to them that you need to go down there. You know, you need to hit the grounds. You need to hit the areas where you don't even have potable water. You do not even have disposable facilities. You do not even have the education. And there are still currently traditional beliefs that is mutilating females in this whole right. So in this priority settings, we the grassroots also have a role to play, as long as we ensuring that the government enforce these decisions.
Thank you, Pamela. I can see Bidian is on. Bidian, you can go ahead.
Yeah, I think I'm very lucky that I had a little bit of a network problem. Then I get to hear what Pamela and Cinnamon says, so they align. You know, it's very nice to do it like that. I agree with what my co-panelists have shared. And just to give it a simple example, is probably one of the examples of priority setting is, you ever wonder why in the villages, down in the villages, a lot of places you can't get sanitary towels, but then there's a bottle of Coca-Cola up to the last mile, the smallest shop, there's a bottle of Coca-Cola. And well, the government might have a lot of priorities in getting profits by supporting Coca-Cola Africa and stuff like that. But it can also decide to use the infrastructure, the logistical infrastructure of some of these companies to make sure that some of these products also reach those places. Yeah. I also agree hugely with what my colleagues have said about data, because you have to use data to provide some informed decision. And one of the things that is happening in the country is the KDHS, Kenya Demographic Health Survey. It's not updated. The data the government is using now is outdated. You can't use it, you can't quote it anywhere. And most governments prefer things like that, because then you can't really put them to test. It's our responsibility to push such that these things are updated. Countries will realize that they have 20% of their teenage girls as pregnant. Then they would prioritize interventions that would first accept they have this problem, rather than conservationist intervention. Because with data, you start from the point of accepting this is the situation. Then you move on towards intervention. And that plays a very huge part in prioritization. Lastly, as an example, is recently in Kenya, I'm sure Ghana, and also Malawi. Malawi has Malawi 2030. It's like our big four agenda in Kenya. Malawi has Malawi 2030. Different countries have their big philosophies and strategies. Yeah. And one of the things in Kenya is universal health coverage. But in universal health coverage, there's something called a health benefit package, which is a package of things that you can get to be treated. Not for free, but because universal health coverage does not mean health is free. It means that you will not incur a financial strain to access healthcare. Therefore, it has been made cheap or affordable. Well, for a government to have things in health benefit package that are not related to sexual and reproductive health and rights, while 60 or 70% of its population is young people, is being blind. Because then, let's say you would have something like TB, typhoid, and they're quite important illnesses that needs to be covered in primary healthcare. But then there's a high likelihood that somebody will go through a whole year without necessarily having those illnesses. By virtue of being a young person below the age of 30, one of the most illnesses that you will face throughout your life, 70% of your illnesses are sexually transmitted infections or SRHR related healthcare services, like access to contraceptives. Those are some of the things that are your priority. So should the government decides to give you a service for free, then it needs to be a service you can use. It needs to be a service that is not just effective, but is also reflective. It is reflective on some of the challenges that you're going through for them to make that decision. And that goes in a huge part of priority setting. Challenge we have is that our decisions are not made by institutions. If we were more organized countries, we would have institutions like the directorates of health, different departments, making some of these decisions, policy decisions with the cabinet. And there will be prioritization in terms of budgeting. Unfortunately, our institutions are not strong, so the politicians make a lot of those decisions. And it's a problem because they don't, we have a problem, for example, of gender equality in parliament. You get like only 20% are women. Then how do you expect them to prioritize issues like menstrual hygiene management as a prioritization in parliament? That's where the problem starts. If this were more institutionalized, to be made by independent institutions, the decisions will be sound. They will be doing the research, they'll be collecting data, and they will use experts to make some of these decisions. But our politicians do not conduct any research. They do not write, neither do they write any proposals. They work based on what was being in the country that we are. The politicians' business is one, to win elections and find a way to win the next election. So unless we make issues of reproductive health an issue that can make them lose an election, then we really have a long way to go because we have to strengthen our institutions so that we do not necessarily depend on them. That's what I will share about it right now. And thank you. Sorry, my internet wasn't as well at that time.
Okay, it's okay, Bidian. I think for the example that you've given, it's not even Coca-Cola alone. I think since it's 9th next week, I think every villager will get a ballot paper to vote. But when it comes to things that concern the people more, that's not the case to remote places. And then just to add on something about priority setting, something that would have been better. You see, policies are made by politicians, maybe in parliament. So one thing that could be made better is them making a priority matters concerning health. And when they're, let's say when they're passing bills that are affecting the people directly, it would be nice if most of them were present. I can't remember which bill it was correctly, but I think most of the members of parliament didn't really get to turn up. I
Yes.
think
It's the two-third gender rules. The government is trying to push for a bill, make sure there's equal representation. And they show up when they want to get loans in parliament. But then when this one was there, they were not available.
Oh, yes. So I think we can move forward to Pamela. This goes to you. Could you give us the political context or briefly describe the current political commitments towards prioritization of adolescents SRH?
So I want to pick it up from the prioritization. You know, if we want to get the government to focus on our sexual reproductive health rights, we can't just let them have data, give them all the statistics and sit back and ensure that once we've given them the whole budget, we've given them the reports or whatsoever is happening, it will be done. No, it won't happen because these governments are political parties in power, and political parties have their interests and they have their goals. But we as a people in the nation also have our interest, which is the sexual reproductive health rights. So it is more of like a two-way affair. The governments have their interest goals, they have their ambitions of whatever they want to achieve. They want to stay in power as long as they can. So whatever they can do to stay in power, they have to do it. So if we want to get them, then we have to find a nice way of using that approach politically to also get them, because we can't just give them the normal ways of running an institution and then we get data and give it to them and ensure that, okay, once we've given them that, giving them this whole database, they will be able to answer our questions. I'm telling you, these documents will sit on the shelves for years and years, and I'm telling your grandchildren will come and meet it up. There will be no solution. But we need to visit. When we visit the various, I'm happy we are doing this now because this is more of like an evidence of a discussion that is happening. It's live on YouTube. They can see it, that this is going on. We are talking about the issues and the world is hearing about the truth. So if we come up with data, let's be able to come up, hit on grounds. In Ghana, we have members of parliament. So assuming, as the director of programs for the Pan-African Female Youth Leaders, we have this whole project, menstrual hygiene, menstrual health projects, cutting across the continent, so every country does whatever they have to do to support the whole goal. It's difficult, but we're trying. And we have targeted a prone area, which is the central region in Ghana, and this is a prone area for teenage pregnancies. And the reason for these high rates of teenage pregnancies is because of the poor education of sexual reproductive health. Another challenge is the stigmatization. Another challenge is the accessibility of sanitary towels or sanitary pads, because I'm telling you, young women go to sleep with men to be able to get money to afford for a sanitary towel, if you don't know. Because they feel that if you use a sanitary towel, you are the woman of the day. So they end up sleeping with men. And this increases teenage pregnancies. It's not because they do not have food to eat, but they want to be able to take care of themselves as adolescents. And these things are expensive on the market. These sanitary towels and the products of the whole sexual reproductive health, they are expensive and they are not accessible. So if you need to have one and you are using it, then you are the woman of the day. And even in using it, instead of a lady changing the sanitary towel like 2 or 3 times a day, they end up using one throughout the whole day because they can't afford it. And this is increasing the whole teenage pregnancy in that particular region. it is always recording the highest level of teenage pregnancies in that area. And why is it so? Because the government have not prioritized it. The government politically do not have that as a priority, do not have attention on that. They do not care. They want to print ballot papers. They want to win their elections. They want to stay in power for long. They want to appoint ministers. They want to do this. They want to cut sword for an infrastructure, and make money out of it. That is what they are seeing it. If they are giving us sanitary pads or making these things free, how are they going to make their money? What are they going to benefit? What is their gain? But they are not seeing the realities on grounds. So if, like for Central Region, we have a Central Regional Minister, and in a Central Region, we have constituencies, so we have members of parliament of these constituencies. So there was this project we did later parts of this, earlier this year. We approached some institutions, and most of these institutions we approached, out of 10, three ladies were pregnant. Out of 10 girls in a class, 3 girls were pregnant, and they were not in school. And the following Monday, they were writing their basic examination, which is a standard examination that every girl or boy is supposed to write, junior high school, then you graduate to the senior, you graduate to college. But they are pregnant and they have been absent from school. How would they come to class? And the teachers do not even have access to these students. How can they go and talk to them? It's a normal thing. And lo and behold, they were like praising themselves that year because they've recorded the lowest teenage pregnancies in that year. So it means that they even told us that at a point, they were having all girls in their class pregnant. Why is this so? A government institution, that we have teachers teaching them. And I ask myself, do they teach them about this sexual reproductive health? Do they, if maybe I'm going through a menstrual cycle, I have an issue, how are they able to even approach their teachers and talk to them about it? That year, they were even praising themselves that they have they've recorded the lowest level of teenage pregnancies, and fortunately, we have a former member of parliament with us, and she saw the issues. She approached family, they were able to take some of the girls in. She approached the teachers on how to resolve the issue. So if we really need to get this as a political interest, we need to carry them along the process. That is one. If we really need to get this whole thing resolved, we need to carry them along the process, let them feel what is going on grounds. So if we are collecting data, fine. They want to take pictures, they want to know that I visited these areas and all that. Take them to the trashy areas. Let them see what is going on. Let them see the realities. Let them have a feel of it, that if it is their children that is in that position, would they be happy? In as much as making this whole thing politically accepted, we need to also take them through the process and let them have a feel of it. Alongside, when this is done, they are able to also visit back to Parliament, and then report to Parliament that this and this and this is going on. So it's not just about going through the having a database and presenting to them. Mind you, whoever is your intermediary between yourself, the institution that is having that database, and the government would also have an interest. That person can even tweak the data. Who knows? This is politics that we are in, and you cannot leave any stone unturned. You do not know whatever interest that person has. So in as much as we need to have this agenda as a political priority, we need to carry them along the process. This will help them if they are coming up with policies. The policies must cut across. A policy that will be good for a particular region may not be suitable for a particular region because, in the society, there are lots of, we vary. You can't compare the southern to the northern parts of a society. They have their weather, they have their system, they have what works for them and what do not work for them. They have, and if you come to the southern part of the country, they have things that work for them, what do not work for them. So if you're coming up with policies, you need to strategize it per region. So if carrying them along, they feel the whole thing, they come back to the parliament, if strategizing policies, you have your database, they categorize it with what they've gone through, they are able to attest to this, that this is reality, and we think that this is an issue. Imagine that we have, let's say, let me use Ghana, for example, we have 16 regions, and we have grassroots that are hitting all these 16 regions with their various members of parliament, carrying them through the process, giving out sanitary pads. This is a project we are doing. We are doing it alongside with government. We are coming up with data, and alongside whatever you come up with, push it onto the internet, push it onto the media. There should be transparency of database, so that when somebody is behind, a neutral person, a floating voter, somebody who do not know whatever is going on, they can now compare to the reality. They can know that, okay, this is what the institution is saying. This is what the institution have provided. It's on the internet. Nobody can take it away. This is what the government is saying. Does it tally? That way government can never run away from the truth. Imagine we are hitting grounds with all the 16, let's say in Ghana, we are hitting grounds with every regional minister and all the members of parliament, going to every constituency, trying to find out data, trying to work on the issue. Let's say that, okay, this is a national issue that we are working on. We have set this period to work on this issue. This is what we are doing. Imagine we are doing that collectively, coming up with response. How do you think that effectiveness would be when it hits parliament? Alongside hitting parliament, what are we, the grassroots, doing? Have we stopped advocating because we are done with the whole getting the data? We've been able to push it out to them that these are the level of female genital mutilations that goes, the percentages that were at teenage pregnancies that is going on, the level that the percentage is on a high rate. Ladies are dying out of sexual reproductive health issues. Ladies are having problems with their health, and even on their rights. How are they even taking through the process? Even on their rights, are they being fair on their rights? Do they have legal issues? So this will also inform the government to come up with legal strategies. Aside having the policies, what are the legal implications on this whole sexual reproductive health? In as much as it's a priority, in as much as we're going to have policies that will be set aside, we should also have a legal backing that if a lady is going through the cycle, this and this and this should be made available to the lady. We should also be able to prove to government that, yes, indeed, we need sanitary towels. And if we need sanitary towels, we need taxes should be abolished. It should be as cheaper as anything on the market for any lady to be able to afford, that the lady do not have to go and sleep with another man out there just to be able to afford a sanitary pad. Now, sanitary pad in Ghana is very expensive. Very, very expensive. And I believe if a normal Ghanaian, a normal parent having her children, females, take care of a home at this current, having this present current economy, knowing that the world now, we're having issues with economy and productivity level is low and finances are low, how will the parent be able to take care of their home? Let's talk of buying sanitary towels for her daughter. And now that is even expensive. That money that is to buy the sanitary towel, they will think of fending themselves with that money. So it should be as cheaper as possible such that everybody can afford it. And if not so, the various district government organizations that is in every community, every lady should be entitled to a sanitary pad or a sanitary toolkit that maybe every month you can come for one. It should be made free at least. Every month you can be able to come for one. And we should be able to streamline it such that people do not use it as a business. The supervision should be very high. So talking about this issue, you can come up with policies and all that, but another last thing I want to touch on is the supervision. We need to also, as a grassroots that we are working on this, we should also have an eye, supervising government, checking on government, holding government on its neck. You've promised to do this and you must do it. Advocacies should be high. You have done it, okay. It should be able to continue, So I think that is how we should be able to handle the issue.
Thank you very much. Bonke had a question. Bonke, maybe you can share your question. Okay, you're now on mute.
All right. Thank you, panelists, for the wonderful presentations. I'm learning a lot. I just had something that I wanted to seek clarifications from you. Is now that we are talking about this as a political priority, are there countries that have gone further in implementing SRHR policies? And how has the population responded to those? Because I think this one goes way beyond menstrual hygiene materials to the reproductive needs that adolescents and teenagers need. So there's a huge spectrum of things that they need. And the things that maybe some of us have encountered while championing for this is that probably the government is restrictive on such issues, but other people who are equally restrictive are parents and members of the general population. So you can take an example of maybe developed countries like the West. Let's take America, for example. So I know majority of you have your views about vaccines, but it's one of the countries where we have good structures worth implementing those things about health, but the general population are the people who come against this implementation. So I wanted to find out if any of the panelists can comment on countries that have been successful implementing this and how the general population has responded, so that at least we can emulate them and apply them here, because we can be championing this so that the government can take active roles in this, but then our population fails us down. So I don't know how those countries have squared it with their population. If any of you know that, can address it for us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bonke. So that's quite an important question to just like, what are the challenges? What is country specific that can make us move forward as a country? And because of time, we'll just break ourselves into two rooms. And Bonke, since you asked the question, will you be kind enough to guide one of the rooms? And Cinnamon will probably guide the other room. And probably we can have 3 minutes in these rooms for people to discuss, and we come back and probably we'll have a presentation from each person from different of those rooms. And then us, the panelists, will give a summary of today's. Is that okay, everyone? Yeah. Well, there should be something popping up for you to join the different rooms. Please, everyone, on your screen, there's an option for you guys to join some rooms. Judy, Eunice, Duke, bye. You should be headed to the other room. Well, goodbye, Duke and Brenda. Hello, Charlie. On your screen, you probably can see an option to join a room. Same to you, Brenda. it is very nice to see everyone brought back. I know it was a bit forcefully, but glad, happy to see you all. So I guess we'll hand it back to Dorcas as you lead us to the last sections of the day.
Okay, thank you, Bidian. I guess my co-host today, you can be preparing, but in the meantime, in case we have questions, kindly type them in the chat box. Yes, then
did any group have anything to present, like your group?
We were rudely interrupted before we could finish. So I think we can maybe confirm from the other group, group 1. Do you have something to present? But some of the countries that came up in my group was Cinnamon, you said Colombia, right?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, so group 1, which countries came up in your discussion? Group 1, guys.
Emirati, probably.
Oh, okay. Oh, it's okay. I think we can continue. So I'd like to remind you all about Tuwajibike series. So this webinar today is a flag of events for our upcoming Tuwajibike series. So in this series, we'll be followed up by an intense WhatsApp chat series in the different respect chapters. So I think when we are called upon to take part in the different discussion groups, as well as the different platforms for us to engage in matters concerning SRHR. Let's register and be free, and then engage actively. And at the end of the day, let's make sure we learn for us to become better policymakers and promote this matter in the future, as well as in our current life. So I think we can go on to Duke. Duke, can you get me?
Yeah, thank you, Dorcas, for this chance. I think from my group, we were able to discuss some of the challenges that many countries are facing in implementation of these, the SRHR, and one of them was the insufficiency of resources, among many countries, and the second one was lack of participation from maybe the citizens of that country, in that there are so many expectations. They have high expectations, and their support is little. Yeah, that draw. You getting me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, that drove me to some popular philosopher by the name Henry Sigeris, to say that the people's health ought to be the concern of the people themselves, not just the role of the physicians, maybe in improving the health, or the role of the government, or in improving maybe these SRHR policy. So it's also a responsibility to yeah. So my question goes to Bidian. How can we hold power to account when it comes to advancement of the SRHR? Yeah. How can we hold power to account when it comes to advancement of SRHR? Bidian.
Thank you very much. I'll try to be very straight with this thing because of time, of course. Yeah. But yeah, we can hold people in positions of power to account when it comes to SRHR, because it is important to us to do that. And one of them is to just being human beings. We vote. We just vote properly. Yeah. For example, SRHR is not just, because you see there's an R at the end, sexual and reproductive health and rights. Issues of gender equality are also key issues in SRHR. Yeah. And therefore, just while voting representationally, not necessarily voting in or same sex, but also voting for people with ideas that can provide an equal opportunities for both gender is a way to put in emphasis on duty bearers. Also, politicians are like shopkeepers. Their responsibility is to sell. And we as the customers, if we do not buy what they're selling, then they would have to change the product. We need to figure out exactly what products we want to buy from politicians so that we know the kind of things we are buying from them. If we want better services, then we have to insist. If all customers insist that they want better services, of course they will get better services in this situation. So it's important for us to also participate in some of this policy formulation. I know for Kenya and also for Nigeria, there's most of the policy making, there's a requirement of public participation for those policies to be done. I happen to attend a couple of them sometimes, maybe in parliament or in the communities. But we would always be 4 or 5 people that are showing up for the public participation sections. And it is important that you show up so that then these people can hear, it can be documented that the people want this as a priority area. Yeah. Also, we need to change perception of success. There's a huge part in a political cycle where success is measured as physical things. They want to touch roads, like a road or a bridge or a huge dam. It's a physical things. And it's about time that we need a generation or just a group of people across one election cycle to just focus on building structure. That success should be measured with the kind of structures we've developed. Yeah, success should be measured with the fact that you've developed a public health institute that can safeguard access to sanitary towels, SRHR information, contraceptive, things like that. Success can be built by the fact that we have operationalized the youth-friendly services to make them functional. Then the politicians will not be under a big fuss to build big railways and stuff, because then they are worried if they don't build the tangible things, the physical things, they might be considered to have not worked. Yeah, so every time they have to push all the resources to developmental things rather than creating some of these structures and systems. Yeah, I think that's what I'll say for now. I've already been mentioned as a talkative guy. I'll leave the talking to my other panelists.
Okay, thank you, Bidian, for that. Yeah, we should change the perception of success, hold people into account. It's nice to hear that. So my other question goes to Pamela. Yeah, I don't know if I'm audible enough because my gadget has a problem. Can you hear me well?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So my next question goes to Pamela. It says,
Okay. Yeah. Hello.
We can hear you, Pamela. I think he was cut off as he was trying to talk.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. It says, despite the politics being ill-perceived or it's perceived negatively, or we've got instances of misuse of power, corruption. How can we engage with politics towards accelerating change in the SRHR space? Yeah.
Yeah, so I even mentioned this earlier in my submission. Politics have played a negative impact role in the SHRS program, and it is there. It is clear. It is a negative impact. If we really want to make this negative impact positive, let's join them on grounds with the issues. Let's carry them along when we are going on grounds. Let them also make politics with it. let them also have a feel of what is going on ground. If they are able to go through the whole process with us, they cannot say that they do not know what is going on, or they cannot attest whilst there are videos and pictures and everything out there. So if we really want to turn this whole impact into a positive impact, let them have a feel of it. Let them also come up with statements on these issues. Let them know that this is what is happening to their daughters in their various constituencies. So I believe we all can accept that it's a negative impact. Politics is not doing anything good to sexual reproductive health rights. It is not contributing anything positive to it because it falls nowhere near the interests of politics in our various governments. So therefore, if we want to do that, then we're also going to do our politics. Yes, it is a political issue now because it is affecting a sectional, a greater part of the nation. Women are always record at a higher rate on the population compared to men. So most definitely, if we have youth or adolescents, females are higher than the men. So it is a political issue now. We need to hit with them on ground. So I think that is the way to go.
Okay, thank you, Pamela, for that response. I think I'll direct to Dorcas to carry on from there.
Great point, Pamela.
I don't know if I can add to Pamela's answer to how we can engage with politics in a better way. Is it okay? Can I go ahead?
Oh yes, you can go ahead, Cinnamon.
Okay, very good, thank you. So yes, I think for our setting right now, we do take on politics as such a negative thing in society because the whole it is in a period of we're in a period of widespread populist politics, which is mad with propaganda, live, and all that you can imagine. And we're so much used to this environment that we as young people do not know how we can impact, how we can make an impact in such a dreadful society. But I just want us to be clear that politics is not really, we should not ill perceive it as such, but really we should learn our way around it and how we can exercise power and what circumstances can we do that to incorporate change in our society. And I think as young people, like just Pamela said, it is our responsibility to engage in promoting and protecting SRHR in the different forums that we are in. And we do need to pay careful attention to the ways in which political debates around SRHR are created and advanced, and how we can create and take advantage of opportunities that come about us to change, and also how we can work also to change the social and cultural and political norms that are there, that are continuing to deny or restrict access to SRHR. And also I think how Bidian answered the question, how we can hold power to account. We also need to work towards improving strategies and mechanisms so that we can be able to hold these political powers to account in what we're trying to do. And I think for me, in concluding this point, it's really important to continue to work with passion as young people and work without relent towards realizing SRHR for everyone and for all. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Cinnamon. I think we'll go to the last part of the day, maybe one for Bidian. Bidian, you've been a key person in mostly youth advocacy. So we have this question for you. Some of the questions have been, let's say some of it has been answered in our conversation today, but what is the role of young people to resolve SRHR issues like mental health, teenage pregnancies, gender violence, as well as STI? Am I audible?
Yes.
Go
I was just trying to figure out if I want to run away or answer a question, but I've decided to stay. I think the first thing that young people need to do in resolving these people is to be young. We need to accept being young. We need young people are supposed to be creative, to be erratic, to be think out of the box and all those things. And we need to be allowed to do that, so that as a young person, you can bring something that is out of the box. I think one thing that they always say, that being a young person does not mean that our responsibility is to continue with the things that have been there with those people who have come before us. But our responsibility is also to come with solutions for our generation. So how do we fight some of these things? One, mobilization. We need to mobilize in groups so that you don't fight this as an individual. Don't individualize the fight for some of these things, for SRHR and gender equality and STI, fighting STI and access to mental. Fight it through groups. We need to mobilize as many young people as possible to push for this, because some developed countries are doing so well. Yeah, conversations and dialogue has been normalized, but for us as young people, we are the ones who are freer in our generations. I have a lot of friends who have tried to tell their dad or their mom, after eating, like, "Hey, mom, I love you." And the mom and dad, they don't really know how to reply. They find that to be too intense. So they will probably say amen, or they'll say hallelujah, and then finish it like that, because they're not used to dialogue. But they find that to be too intense for them to participate in that kind of discussion. So as young people, we need to normalize some of that thing, talk about it as openly as possible, so that it can be normal to share, because we don't share. People who lack menstrual hygiene management pads, yes, it is a problem, but the other part is that it's also a taboo to discuss it. Normalizing having these conversations that somebody can say when they have a problem is a key part to resolving some of the challenges we are facing, so that we do not become the generation that also says, "Oh, I love you," and then they say, amen. We should probably be able to say, "I love you" back. You need to love people back. It's important, guys. Yeah. The other part is data. We have to, every change has to be data driven. And there's something called civic disobedience. While it is nice, but apathy has no space for human rights, fighting for human rights. Civic disobedience needs to pass message, or you need to participate actively in things. If you do not participate in it, maybe it should be because you're passing a message. But you cannot be apathetic as a young person, because we are the ones who are going to stay here for longer, and it's our children and grandchildren. And therefore, it's important that when government is setting up bills and setting up regulations, we make sure they know that we exist, go to public participation. Make sure that your voice is heard. Yeah. Constitutionally, I'm sure Pamela will get to share at some point, maybe during her parting shot. Even in Ghana, young people are required to participate. There's a lot of huge push for youth inclusion. The current Pan-African Youth Union section is also from Ghana. There's a lot of push for young people to be included. But the problem is, when young people are on those tables, they are mostly used to rubber stamp some of the decisions that have already been discussed. And it is important that you make your voice known, even though they might not necessarily include it, but please have a voice and mention what you want. Because we assume these guys know, but they don't know. They have no idea of what they're doing. A lot of times you will be shocked. Yeah, I attended discussions where I was telling parliamentarians some people are sitting on sand during menstruation because they cannot access pads. And they were like, that's not possible, not in this country, not in the 21st century. Well, but it is happening. It's happening in places they're representing. So let us not assume that they know. The people who know is us. At least you know that you know. Yeah. We don't know what the other people know. We know that we know. So let us teach them even though they know. Yeah. Repeat it to them. Make sure that there's no doubt they are aware of the challenges that we are facing. And lastly, I think we need to demand our space. Changes are not necessarily just political changes, but also social changes. The desire to change something within a community setup is a key part to changing things. Schools have life skill classes. our ability to talk to our parents to make sure that when they go to the parent-teachers association meetings in the school, they insist that conversations on menstrual hygiene management can also be included as part of life skill training. Those are the things that change things. The problem with us as young people is that we want to focus on the big things. You want to change the name of the country, focusing on the very big things. But our responsibility of young people is to change lives one at a time. And it's very easy to start it at home by just convincing your mom when they go to the PTA meeting so that your siblings can get access to information on menstrual hygiene management and stuff against gender-based violence during their life skill. Because if parents want it, those schools will provide it. Let's just focus on changing it one at a time. And when you get a chance to be next to a decision maker, inform him, even though he might look like he knows. He's just shy to admit that he actually doesn't know. They mostly don't know what they're doing. So please inform them even though they know. Thank you.
Thank you, Bidian, for that. We are moving next to our last segment, that is the parting shot from our panelist today. So I think before we'll have Pamela, then Bidian and Cinnamon giving us their parting shots. But I think you did mention something on I love you, but I think you don't say such things in an African household. I read somewhere that Africans show their love through actions, but as a generation, I think we can at least improve on that part. Personally, I don't think I've ever told my dad that. Yeah, so Pamela, are you ready?
Yes, so at this juncture, I want to say that there is a call to action. And in as much as the spirit of volunteerism is low, very, very low, I do not know if it's low in Kenya, but what I can say that the spirit of volunteerism is growing lower and lower every day. But there is a call to action and everybody is included. There's an all-inclusive agenda, leaving nobody behind, supporting our females, supporting each other, support women, supporting women, to ensure that sexual and reproductive health rights is not only a priority setting, but it's also a political priority, a government priority, and we need each other in ensuring this to be done. If we need to enforce that our females, let's say, as we're having this meeting today, in the next 5 years to come, if we should have a meeting like this, we should be able to come up with records that out of this meeting that we had today, we're able to get sanitary towels being distributed free to our females, or let's say majority of the taxes, in some countries have been able to abolish taxes on sanitary towels or sanitary pads or sexual and reproductive health right products, and they are accessible. So these are my parting words. If we are to meet again, we should come up with results and we should know the way forward. Thank you for this opportunity and I'm grateful. Thank you, Respect. I love the session and thank you everybody for being on this show. It was a moment for learning and charging up.
Thank you, Pamela. Let's have Bidian.
And Pamela, we hope to see you next year in our Respect conference. Yeah. So please start preparing your travel documents, please. Yeah. As for me,
I already have my passport.
Let's hear what Cinnamon says when her turn comes. As for me, I want to say that SRHR is an important concept. And we need to agree that SRHR is sexual and reproductive health and right. It's not just a health problem. It is a developmental problem. It is an educational problem because it decides a lot of things in people's lives. It makes a small blip in it, and we have a lot of girls dropping out of schools. A small blip in it, we have a lot of women not accessing quality workforce because they are systematically pushed away, and also for the men themselves. A small blip in it. We have a lot of men not feeling free enough to comment when they are feeling stepped upon, or they're feeling that they're getting a low bargain for what service they are offering. Yeah. So it's an important concept for everyone else. And for us as young people, it's important for us to identify that we live in the society that we are in. And if we want to change it, we must start by, well, faking it might be nice, but we must also start by accepting where we are, accepting where we live, and trying to change it from there, right? From the village where we come from Nyakemincha, we have to start thinking of what is happening from down there, from Huisero. What is happening there? Am I happy with how things are happening? Are my peers developing? And developing from there, I need to be very straight when I meet duty bearers that besides the selfie, which I will still take because I need to post it on my Instagram, I will also have a commitment form and the commitments that I need these duty bearers to take into action. It's important that it's not just about being a celebrity and being known and trending, but using some of those skills that we have had on making things trend, on pushing duty bearers, on being persistent to create a social change in our society. I'll try and do my part, and I hope you too will do yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Bidian. Cinnamon?
Didn't I have my passport? I don't know why it's still insisting on that. After this, I'm going to Ghana very soon, very soon. But yes, it's always a pleasure talking after.
Yes, you're welcome.
Thank you. It's a bit hard talking after two of my amazing co-panelists have talked, and I've been a big fan of what they do in matters advocacy and everything. And I really thank you for being part of being here with the panel with me, and for the moderators. Thank you for the wonderful moderation. I think for my parting shot today would be this has been a really amazing discussion, and I think as Pamela highlighted as we are having this discussion, that having this session today is that step forward in us taking our space and making adolescent SRHR as a political priority, a step forward in the right direction. And yes, I love how Bidian said about as youth, we should get engaged. We should take up our space. We should be allowed to be young as well, and also take up opportunities that require us to advocate for policies that work in favor for us, because we ourselves know the challenges we are facing through, and it's amazing, and we should definitely continue the action. And yes, I'm very happy for everyone watching this today. I'm grateful. And yes, my final remark would be SRHR is not a privilege, guys. It is not a privilege. It is a fundamental human right for each and every one of us, and we should be entitled to ensuring that we have the best of it, the services. So yes, thank you once again for joining in. Thank you for having me, and have a good night.
Thank you, Cinnamon. And this brings us to the end of our webinar. I'll also give my parting shot. I think the main thing that I'd like to maybe say is that as young people, I think we should learn to maybe take up space and start shifting our mindsets from letting or depending on others to do things for us, but instead we should start to look at what can we contribute to the society in as much as it's small. Then we should also look for chances where we can at least advocate for the different things that really affect us. And yeah, I think participation in advocacy would be key for everyone. So I've been your host today, and moderator Dorcas Mikali. Is Duke around? Was experiencing some network issues, but I was not alone. Duke, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear Dorcas.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I'm happy for our panelists today. It's been a nice session. I've enjoyed, though I've been having issues, but I think I attended most of it. Yeah, I was in. Okay, before I forget, was to remind you of our website for those who are following us. Okay, respect.or.ke. Okay, and other social media handles like Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can find us on Respect KD. Okay, yeah, my parting shot is SRHR is something that we both can achieve by achieving unity amongst ourselves. It's not something that maybe we should feel like it's for somebody else. It's just something that we should both be unified in order to achieve. Thank you. Bye.
We're done for today. Anyone with something to say? With that, I think we can have a good night. Vidya and Cinnamon, do you have something to say?
Not really. Asante sana. Thank you everyone for everything. I guess Bonke wanted to say something. Can we close this? So I guess that's all.
Okay.
Then after him, we probably should close it. Over to you, Bonke.
Oh, thank you. I just wanted to appreciate you guys for this wonderful session. I've learned a lot, and the small group discussion was also enlightening. So thank you so much. Thank you, Cinnamon, for recommending this to me, and Dorcas for the wonderful moderation. Good night, everyone.
Thank you, Bonke. So I guess we'll see each other next time, and let's